안녕하세요 여러분, 잘 들리시나요? 들리시나요? 하나 둘 셋, 하나 둘 셋. 아 네네, 지금 방금 나왔어요. 원래 장 끝나면 나온다고 했는데 네, 매출은 2.8, 그래서 예측을 상회하는 결과가 나온 것으로 보이고요. 지금 보니까 원래 예측이 얼마였냐, 자 보겠습니다. 일단 매출은 2.8 밀리언, 그리고 부킹스, 이건 이제 월별로 조금씩 인식되는 예약 매출이죠. 16.4 밀리언. 그래서 오, 근데 예측이 더 높았네요. 그래서 뭐 예측이랑 거의 또이또이하게 나왔네요. 2.8이라고 쓰긴 했는데 2.76이고, 주당 순이익도 뭐 예측보다 조금 부진하긴 한데 비슷하게 나왔고요. 그리고 뭐 공군 연구소랑 계약한 거 13.4 밀리언은 저번에 나왔던 뉴스고, 25 알고리즘 큐비츠를 달성을 했네요. 이게 원래 올해 안에 달성이었는데 생각보다 빨리 달성이 됐고, 네, 뭐 특별한 소식은 따로 없네요. 그래서 보면은 아, 그리고 소식이 하나 있네요. 여기에 델의 양자 기술 제공자가 되었다. 그래서 델과 함께 강력하고 혁신적인 새로운 하이브리드 양자 고전 컴퓨터 솔루션을 내놓겠다. 근데 요거는 옛날부터 얘기가 나왔던 건데 이제 본격적으로 상용화가 시작이 되나 봅니다. 그래서 델의 고전 컴퓨터, 아이온큐 양자 컴퓨터를 함께 활용하는 솔루션을 내놓겠다라고 했는데 뭐 본격적으로 나올 것 같다라는 얘기 같고, 그래서 매출 2.8 밀리언, 뭐 여기는 방금 말씀드린 거고, 현금, 그리고 현금성 자산. 요 현금성 자산이라는 거는 1년 이내에 환급할 수 있는, 현금화 할 수 있는 자산을 얘기하는데 여기 투자까지 포함이 돼 있죠. 근데 555면은 한번 보죠. 이게 제가 보기에는 별로 사용을 많이 한 것 같지 않아요. 저는 급격하게 떨어질 수도 있다라고 생각했는데 저번 분기 영상을 보면은 알 수 있겠죠. 저번 분기에는 보겠습니다. 저번 분기는 571이었는데 558이면은 뭐 한 16밀리언밖에 안 썼습니다. 생각보다 많이 안 썼네요. 이 현금성 자산과 투자금이 아직 558밀리언이나 있으니까 뭐 지금 같은 어려운 장에서 따로 돈을 조달할 필요는 없어 보이고, 순 적자는 24밀리언, 그리고 조정된 에비타는 마이너스 13밀리언으로, 네, 뭐 적자가 발생하는 거는 당연히 예상이 됐던 거고, 그래서 미 공군과 계약 체결한 내용이 있고, 오크리지 국립연구소와 함께 미국 에너지부 산하에 있는 오크리지 국가연구소인데 여기서 새로운 양자 화학 어플리케이션을 개발하기 위한 어떤 활동을 한다고 하네요. 이것도 뭐 하나의 뉴스인 것 같고, 그리고 근데 요거는 나왔던 건데 다시 한번 강조를 하네요. 델과 함께 하이브리드 컴퓨팅 솔루션을 제공할 거다. 그러니까 뭐 파트너십만 맺었는데 본격적으로 솔루션을 만들어서 내놓겠다라는 얘기 같네요. 이게 이제 상업적 하이라이트 있고 기술적 하이라이트. 이제 아리아 시스템의 알고리즘 큐비트가 25가 됐다. 23에서. 근데 이 알고리즘 큐비트 하나 올라갈 때마다 컴퓨팅 성능이 2배 증가이기 때문에 한 분기 만에 아리아 시스템이 성능이 4배로 증가했다. 그리고 차세대 커스텀 칩을 발표를 했는데 멀티 레이어드, 여러 계층의 글래스 트랩, 유리 트랩을 내놓겠다. 그래서 다양한 여러 층을 활용을 해서 더 높은 큐비트 숫자를 가능하게 한다 라고 하네요. 그래서 뭐 기술적인 진보는 이 정도가 있을 것 같고, 4분기 예상 매출은 2.9에서 3.4 밀리언. 이번 분기보다는 올라갈 거다라고 얘기를 하고 있고, 전문가들은 3.3 정도를 예측을 하고 있습니다. 그래서 2022년 전체 매출은 10.2에서 10.7. 이거는 뭐 전에 얘기했던 거랑 비슷한 수준인데, 보면은 작년에 한 5배가 되죠. 그리고 부킹 예약 매출 같은 경우는 2022년 전체에서 23에서 27 밀리언인데, 이게 어느 정도 수준이냐면, 이거는 또 제가 남겨둔 걸 보면 알 수 있습니다. 어디 보자. 작년 4분기를 보면 되는데요. 저도 자꾸 까먹기 때문에 제가 했던 거를 계속 다시 보거든요. 그래서 보면은 작년 예약 매출이 16.7이었네요. 16.7이었는데 올해는 23에서 27 밀리언으로 한 40% 정도 증가를 생각을 하고 있고, 그리고 미국의 양자정보과학 R&D 투자가 2019년부터 2022년까지 2배가 되었다. 그만큼 미국 정부가 양자 기술에 관심이 있다라고 돼 있고, 뭐 그 정도가 되겠네요. 그래서 뭐 제가 원래 기대했던 거는, 제가 저번에 영상에서 상표 등록 관련된 영상을 냈는데, 아이온큐가 이제 최근에 5개의 상표를 등록을 했었어요. 그래서 이거 못 보신 분들 있으시면 보시면 좋은데, 신규 양자 컴퓨터 공개 얘기는 아쉽게도 없네요. 그래서 여기 보면은 네, 알토, 컨설토, 콘체르토, 그리고 올빗, 스칼렛, 인디고라는 상표를 등록을 최근에 했는데, 그래서 아마 이번 실적 발표 때 신규 양자 컴퓨터를 발표할 거다. 그래서 알토랑 컨설토 2개 중에 하나가 이제 뭐 바리움 기반일 거다라고 생각을 해봤는데, 그 얘기는 나오지 않았고요. 그건 뭐 또 기다리면 나오겠죠. 주가 동향을 보면은 뭐, 네, 뭐 특별히 아직은 폐장 후에 나온 건 없고요. 네, 아마 제일 평이한 실적 발표가 되지 않을까 싶네요. 예약 매출은 이제 월별로 차근차근히 인식되는 매출을 얘기합니다. 그래서 요거는 왜 하냐면은, 위험하다기보다는 이제 막 떠오르는 신기술들은 중간에 사라질 수도 있기 때문에, 고객들이 한 번에 모든 돈을 지불하는 게 아니고 처음에 일시불 조금 주고 그 다음에 월별로 서비스를 제공받으면서, 뭐 구독이랑 비슷한 느낌이라고 생각하시면 되겠네요. 월마다 조금씩 조금씩 사용료를 지불하는 뭐 그런 형태라고 보시면 됩니다. 뭐 근데 아이온큐는 항상 어닝이랑 거의 비슷하게 갔습니다. 보면은 뭐 22년 1분기 매출이 좀 높긴 했는데, 뭐 보면은 거의 비슷하거나 조금 많거나 조금 적게 계속 나왔죠. 그래서 아직은 뭐 매출이 큰 편이 아니기 때문에 개의 크게 생각할 필요는 없을 것 같고요. 기술이 잘 발전하고 있는지, 그리고 어떤 신규 파트너십 협업이 나오는지, 그거를 좀 중심적으로 보면 될 것 같습니다. 네, 그래서 30분까지 좀 기다려 보겠습니다. 네, 30분에 이제 그 임원들이 본인들 실적 발표하면서 뭐 앞으로 뭘 하겠다, 뭐 Q&A 세션도 하고 그런 거를 합니다. 그래서 거기에서 나오는 힌트들이 많기 때문에 들어보면 좋죠. 아, 그리고 제가 이번에 런칭한 과정이 있습니다. 그래서 뭐 아시는 분들은 아시겠지만 한번 영상 한번 보고 갈게요. 제가 이번에 이제 양자 컴퓨팅뿐만 아니라 양자 산업 부분에 관련해서 잘 모르시면서 그냥 돈을 묻어두시는 분들이 좀 계셔서 주가가 하락할 때 많이 힘들어 하시더라고요. 그래서 같이 전문가분도 모셔보고 책도 읽고 또 제가 리포트나 이런 아이온큐의 100페이지 넘는 사업 설명서도 요약해서 같이 보면서 이제 우리가 투자하는 기업이 어떤 기업이다 이런 거를 같이 공부하고 또 저랑 같이 투자 고민도 얘기해보고 뭐 오프라인으로 만나서 같이 얘기도 해보면서 또 차세대 뭐 아이온큐는 이제 저는 어느 정도 수량을 채웠기 때문에 다음 페이지로 넘어갈 생각이라서 아이온큐뿐만 아니라 이제 다음 어디에 투자하면 좋을까 고민해보는 뭐 그런 과정을 시작해볼 생각입니다. 그래서 지금 50분 모집하는 중인데 거의 다 차서 혹시 관심 있으시면은 제가 뭐 커뮤니티에도 공유를 드렸는데 그 링크를 좀 공유를 드릴게요. 그래서 요거 관심 있는 분들은 같이 참여해 주시면은 같이 공부도 하고 또 저랑 커뮤니티 활동도 같이 하면서 친밀하게 지내는 그런 과정을 한번 기획해 봤습니다. 네, 이제 시작했을 것 같네요.
conference call will start momentarily. Thank you.
여기 보니까 11월 14일에 아이온큐가 엔드-투-엔드 퀀텀 컴퓨팅 솔루션 SC22라는 곳에 프레젠테이션을 하러 가는데, 여기서 하이브리드 양자 컴퓨팅 관련해서 델과 함께 데모가 있다고 하네요. 그래서 여기서 이제 데모가 잘 되면은 많이 팔리겠죠. 그래서 델의 제품을 아이온큐 양자 컴퓨터와 양자 알고리즘 개발팀과 함께 양자 역량을 더했다라고 얘기를 하고 있습니다. 그래서 델이랑 뭐 파트너십 한다는 거는 얘기가 한 작년에 나왔던 것 같은데, 상업화가 이루어지고 있다라고 보면 될 것 같습니다. 이게 시작을 안 하죠? 제가 7시 한 10분, 15분쯤에 나가야 되는데 오늘 생각보다 시작이 좀 늦네요. 원래 6시 반에 딱 시작을 하는데. 자, 폭락이라는 말은 10% 이상 떨어졌을 때 하는 겁니다. 지금 뭐 애프터정 보니까 1% 떨어졌는데 폭락이라고 하시면은 문제가 있어요. 자, 왜 이렇게 시작을 안 하죠?
the formal presentation. If anyone should require operator assistance during the conference, please press star zero on your telephone keypad. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded. I would now like to turn the conference over to your host, Jordan Shapiro. Thank you. You may begin.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to IonQ's third quarter 2022 earnings call. My name is Jordan Shapiro, and I am the Vice President of Financial Planning and Analysis and Head of Investor Relations here at IonQ. I am pleased to be joined on today's call by Peter Chapman, IonQ's President and Chief Executive Officer, Thomas Kramer, our Chief Financial Officer, Dr. Chris Monroe, our Co-founder and Chief Scientist, and Dr. Jungsang Kim, our Co-founder and Chief Technology Officer. By now, everyone should have access to the company's third quarter 2022 earnings press release issued this afternoon, which is available on the Investor Relations section of our website at investors.ionq.com. Please note that on today's call, management will refer to adjusted EBITDA, which is a non-GAAP financial measure. While the company believes this non-GAAP financial measure provides useful information for investors, the presentation of this information is not intended to be considered in isolation or as a substitute for the financial information presented in accordance with GAAP. You are directed to our press release for a reconciliation of such measures to GAAP. During the call, we will discuss our business outlook and make forward-looking statements. These comments are based on our predictions and expectations as of today. Actual events or results could differ materially due to a number of risks and uncertainties, including those mentioned in our most recent filings with the SEC. Now, I will turn it over to Peter Chapman, President and CEO of IonQ. Peter?
Thanks, Jordan. This has been a fantastic quarter, and I'm excited to dive into the details with you. But to start, I'd like to contextualize where IonQ stands today after a year of being public. To date, our system performance has consistently outpaced every other quantum computer available to the public. As you'll hear today, we're continuing to hit our technical milestones, and we believe that we are building the winning approach for quantum computing. We are translating our technology into meaningful business impact for our customers and are currently on track to hit all of our commercial milestones for 2022. We also have a strong balance sheet, which we view as a competitive advantage in the quantum computing industry, especially in this market. While we are disciplined in managing our costs, having this cash allows IonQ to accelerate while others may have to pull back. The market is noticing, customers are noticing, governments are noticing, and talent is noticing. The results are increasingly clear. IonQ is the place to be for quantum computing. We believe we have a clear plan to continuing leading the quantum industry and to make quantum computing a ubiquitous technology. Our focus is to win the quantum space race by reducing the time to market for quantum computers that rival the best supercomputers. With that context, let's jump into the Q3 results. This quarter was another record quarter on so many levels. First, I'll start with a financial recap. We generated a strong $16.4 million of new bookings. That brings IonQ to $21.2 million of bookings as of the end of the third quarter and puts us firmly on track to achieve our annual bookings number of between $23 and $27 million. As a result, we expect 50% year-over-year growth in annual bookings based on us hitting the midpoint of $25 million. We recognized $2.8 million in revenue for the quarter, which we believe supports our full year 2022 revenue range of $10.2 to $10.7 million. This compares to $223,000 in the prior year period. More importantly, we believe our bookings will set us up for a very strong continued year-over-year revenue growth in 2023. I will turn the microphone over to Thomas in a few minutes to discuss the full financial story. But before doing so, we have lots to discuss on our technical progress for the quarter. I would refer you to our public roadmap published 2 years ago in December 2020, which covers algorithmic qubits, or AQ, the core technical benchmark for our systems. The roadmap shows us progressing from an AQ of 6 we had in 2020 to a goal of 25 AQ this year, growing to 64 AQ in 2025. I am very happy to announce we have achieved our goal for this year of 25 algorithmic qubits on our Aria class machine. This announcement continues our success in hitting our public roadmap. 29, 35, and 64 AQ are next. A huge shout out to the technical team at IonQ, who not only hit the milestone, but did so ahead of schedule. As you know, every time you add an algorithmic qubit, you double the computational power, which is the useful computational space for running algorithms. We started the year with an AQ of 6 available on the cloud. The latest achievement is an increase in computational power of more than 500,000 times in a single year. We continue to believe that around 40 AQ, early quantum machine learning applications will demonstrate clear quantum advantage over classical hardware. Based on our roadmap, we believe this critical milestone is a mere 2 to 3 years from now, which is just around the corner. It takes time to develop quantum applications. IonQ is providing leading companies the hardware and applications expertise to invest in quantum now, lest they be left behind in the near future. Occasionally, people are confused when they hear other quantum technologies boasting much higher physical qubit counts than IonQ's. We believe the algorithmic qubits benchmark resolves that, leveling the playing field to show how useful a quantum computer is for real customers. So for the avoidance of doubt, let me be clear. IonQ systems are exceeding every other universal gate-set quantum computer we know of in terms of algorithmic qubits. We've covered our exciting news on the systems level, but now I'd like to switch focus down to the chip level. As those who follow us will know, IonQ also develops a line of custom chips. Last year, we unveiled our first custom-made chip, the evaporated glass trap, or EGT for short. The EGT utilizes a single layer to route wires across the chip and ushered in an unprecedented level of performance. Today, I'm happy to announce our next-generation custom chip, called the multi-layer glass trap, or MGT. We believe this technology should enable higher qubit count per chip, going beyond the capabilities of our EGT to fit hundreds of qubits in a multi-core arrangement. Additionally, we have been developing photonic integrated circuits, or PICs for short, a technology that offers a robust and compact way to deliver laser light to trapped ion qubits. This quarter, we have received our first batch of PIC devices. We plan to integrate those into our future ion traps with the goal of increasing the integration levels of our ion trap chip. We believe this will help us scale up the number of qubits on a single chip while reducing system size, complexity, and per qubit cost. We expect that the MGT chip will allow us to fit a greater number of physical qubits into a single quantum processing unit. We believe the PICs will allow us to deliver light in a much more compact and robust way as we scale to multiple QPUs to deliver an even more powerful quantum computer. We look forward to providing future updates as we continue our scaling efforts for IonQ's systems architecture. Back on the business side, I will end with some of our commercial milestones, another area where we had an incredible quarter. In September, we announced our $13.4 million contract with the U.S. Air Force Research Lab, or AFRL. This multi-part contract will supply AFRL with cloud access to compute on our cutting-edge trapped ion systems and with hardware components to further their research in quantum networking. I want to clarify that this sale does not constitute a full system sale such as we had discussed on our prior earnings calls. We are actively pursuing full system sales with a number of interested parties, and we continue to believe that a sale of that nature could occur in the next 12 to 18 months. IonQ also kicked off a second exciting new project with the U.S. government in Q3, this one with the Department of Energy's Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Our new agreement focuses on researching benchmark circuits to be used for the discovery of new quantum chemistry applications. IonQ will provide cloud access as well as applications development research support to ORNL. We aim to break new ground in a variety of interesting new computational chemistry and physics applications. Our commercial success this quarter was not limited to working with the government. It is my pleasure to announce that IonQ is now a trusted quantum compute provider to Dell Technologies. IonQ and Dell have formed this new partnership to offer a world-class hybrid computing solution combining the best of quantum computing, IonQ's Aria system, with the best of classical computing, Dell's PowerEdge servers. With our combined forces, customers will now have the ability to seamlessly transition workloads between classical and quantum hardware. Beyond these new contracts, we've also signed several new contracts and renewed our partnerships with several existing customers. As IonQ's commercial momentum picks up steam, we're also focused on making our systems increasingly accessible and usable, delivering a full-stack approach to quantum computing. This past quarter, we added IonQ's Aria to Microsoft's Azure Quantum Cloud, meaning that anyone with an Azure account can now access IonQ's most powerful quantum computer. Aria's new capacity of 25 algorithmic qubits will be available to customers in the near future. This was a phenomenal third quarter for IonQ on all counts. We hit our AQ goal, innovated on our quantum chips, and put ourselves within striking range of our financial targets. We could not be more thrilled about the road ahead. We are proud of the IonQ team for the incredible hard work day in and day out, and we remain committed to building the world's most powerful quantum computers to solve the world's most complex problems. I'd now like to turn this call over to Thomas for a run-through of our financials, as well as updates on our corporate initiatives. Thomas?
Thank you, Peter. Now let's walk through this quarter's financial results in more detail. As Peter mentioned, we had an excellent quarter, recognizing $2.8 million in revenue, which is above the midpoint of the outlook we previously provided. We also exited the quarter with $21.2 million in bookings year to date, which puts us on track to hit our previously stated expectation of between $23 to $27 million for the full year. Given that we are still at the beginning of our commercialization phase, I want to reiterate my comment from our last earnings calls that we expect bookings to continue to be lumpy for quite some time. Moving down to the income statement, for Q3 2022, our total operating costs and expenses for the third quarter were $27.7 million, up 156% from $10.8 million in the prior year period, but well within our plan for the year. To break this down further, our research and development costs for the third quarter were $13.3 million, up 115% from $6.2 million in the prior year period. Recall that we are investing heavily in R&D and, given anticipated demand, are building more systems than previously projected this year. Our sales and marketing costs in the third quarter were $2 million, up 54% from $1.3 million in the prior year period. This increase was due to us growing our go-to-market function as we continue our investment into our commercial efforts. Our general and administrative costs in the third quarter were $10.1 million, up 304% from $2.5 million in the prior year period. This increase is largely attributable to a growth in stock-based compensation expense, which was $4.5 million for the third quarter, compared to $837,000 in the prior year period. All of this resulted in a net loss of $24 million in the third quarter, compared to a net loss of $14.8 million in the prior year period. It is important to note that these results include a non-cash loss of $1.2 million for the third quarter related to the fair value of our warrant liabilities. We saw an adjusted EBITDA loss for the third quarter of $13.4 million, compared to a $7.9 million loss in the prior year period. Note that we projected an adjusted EBITDA loss for the year of $55 million and have announced a loss of $35.3 million year to date, so we expect to remain well within our plan for the year. Turning now to our balance sheet. Cash, cash equivalents, and investment as of September 30th, 2022 were $555.8 million. We continue to believe this gives us sufficient cash reserves to get to profitability without needing to raise additional funds, given our current roadmap. Now turning to our full year 2022 outlook. We are pleased to be maintaining both our revenue and bookings outlook for the full year 2022. As a reminder, we anticipate revenue of between $10.2 and $10.7 million, and we expect bookings of between $23 and $27 million. For context, year to date, we have booked $21.2 million. Overall, we are incredibly excited about our commercial and financial progress year to date, as well as the state of the quantum computing industry as a whole. The market for quantum is currently growing rapidly, despite global market headwinds that much of the broader technology industry is currently experiencing. In these difficult market conditions, many companies have retreated from their earlier financial projections. In contrast, IonQ has stood by our earlier estimates, and we continue to exceed our projections. Meanwhile, interest in quantum continues to be promising. Having a quantum strategy is becoming an existential imperative for corporations and governments. We believe investments in quantum is driven by factors that supersede spending limits in the down market, such as what we are seeing with government customers. We already achieved substantial support from the U.S. government this year, but it's worth to note that the DoD alone is expected to increase their investment in quantum information science from $661 million this year to $710 million requested for 2023. IonQ is taking actions like making our data centers government compliant so that we can try to capture a portion of that opportunity. We at IonQ could not be more pleased with the continued growth of the industry as a whole, and we believe we are well positioned to continue as a market leader in the space. And we are happy to report another quarter of meeting and exceeding our financial and commercial targets. Back to you, Peter.
Thank you, Thomas. In summary, once again, IonQ is meeting and exceeding all the expectations we have shared with the market. We finished the quarter with $7.3 million in revenue and $21.2 million in bookings year to date, putting us on track to hit our financial goals for the full year. Our cash equivalents, and investments at the end of Q3 totaled $555.8 million, which we continue to believe will provide us with sufficient runway to get us to profitability without the need to raise additional funds. We achieved our 2022 core technical milestone of 25 algorithmic qubits ahead of schedule. We signed groundbreaking agreements with new customers in both the public and private sector. And despite the turbulent economic conditions currently facing the technology industry, we continue to solidify ourselves as the industry leader, capable of consistently executing on our ambitious vision. To those who have been tracking IonQ for years, we appreciate your support and hope you are pleased with how we have furthered our goals since going public just 1 year ago. To those of you who are new to the IonQ story or have been waiting to dig in, we invite you to join us as we continue to take IonQ and the quantum industry to new heights. And with that, I'd like to have the operator open the line for questions.
Thank you. At this time, we'll be conducting a question and answer session. If you'd like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. A confirmation tone will indicate your line is in the question queue. You may press star 2 if you'd like to remove your question from the queue. For participants using speaker equipment, it may be necessary to pick up your handset before pressing the star keys. One moment, please, while we poll. Our first question comes from Quinn Bolton with Needham & Company. Please proceed with your question.
The multi-layer glass trap, what kind of increase in qubit count do you think you'll be able to achieve, and how important is that to getting to the 64 algorithmic qubit target by 2025? Thank you. Hello?
Chris or Jungsang, would you like to take that?
Oh, is Jungsang on?
No, go ahead, Chris. Take it.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, Chris Monroe, Chief Scientist. So our glass traps will allow us to have multiple zones on a single chip. We call that a multi-core architecture, and that will give us the ability to control many more qubits. And it's basically as simple as that. We know how to add qubits, and to get to 64 algorithmic qubits, to get to those numbers, we need higher fidelity, component fidelities on the qubits as well. We know how to make the qubits. It's more about how we control them all. And so the glass traps give us much more flexibility on scaling the number of qubits.
And you mentioned the PIC technology that I think probably involves the lasers used to implement the gates. Is that also, how important is that new PIC technology to getting that 64 algorithm qubit?
PIC technology is not immediately needed in the short term, but it's more of a research effort at the company right now. We anticipate needing this for further gains down the line, but not immediately.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Our next question comes from David William with Benchmark. Please proceed with your question.
Hey, good afternoon, and congrats on all the progress and hitting all the milestones. It's definitely refreshing to see.
Thank you.
I guess, Peter, maybe first to you, and others can jump in. But just kind of thinking about maybe the balance sheet strength and the bookings that you're receiving, everything's moving in the right direction. But I guess as I think about the landscape, and although your technology is a bit different, I think, than most others, I would assume there may be some IP assets or infrastructure or other components out there that could be beneficial to accelerate your progress. And I'm just kind of curious if you're seeing anything in terms of IP or any other maybe ways to consolidate and accelerate your path forward here, if that's something that you would be interested in doing.
It's a great question, and in fact, we are. There's a kind of a number of different aspects here. First, it's a difficult environment sometimes for little startups right now, so that provides opportunities for buying, get some bargains, so to speak. And then the other thing is vertical integration in terms of the hardware itself, and we've started some of that as well. So you expect us in the next year to hear more about that.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for the color there. And then maybe, and you talked about the obvious increase from 6 to the 25 on the qubit or algorithmic qubits. Can you help me understand exactly what that means? It's hard to, I guess, visualize a 500,000 times increase in power. Can you help me understand, are there any metrics you can put around that may be a little easier to wrap my head around?
Maybe Jungsang or Chris, I will kind of, talk, maybe you could talk about how to visualize that one.
Yes, I can help with that. This is Jungsang. So the way we consider the power of quantum computing is in terms of what kind of computational space that is accessed during the computation, meaning how much. If you want to model this with classical memory, how much classical memory will be needed to actually finish that computation? And as our quantum computers get more and more powerful, we can actually access exponentially large computational space. And we measure that by being the ability to run some benchmark algorithms, and that capability is measured in algorithmic qubits. So going from algorithmic qubits of 6 means you can actually run algorithms that fit on 6 qubits with some level of complexity, and algorithmic qubit of 25 means you're actually now using 25 qubits and running quantum computation with much deeper complexity. And the amount of, if you were to simulate this with classical computers, the amount of memory space you would need will have to be about 500,000 times more to be able to do that. So, and of course, the quantum computers do that with the power of quantum.
Okay, very good. That's very, very helpful. Thanks so much for that. And I'll jump back in the queue, but thanks for the help.
As a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. One moment, please, while we poll for questions. Our next question comes from Richard Shannon with Craig-Hallum. Please proceed with your question.
Well, hi, everyone. Thanks for taking my questions as well. Maybe a quick one on your Air Force Research Labs contract announced at the end of September. Any way you can describe over what time this might be recognized? And is this a ratable kind of recognition, or are there milestones specifically that could make that revenue recognition somewhat lumpy?
Hi, Richard.
Do you want to take that?
Yep. Absolutely. I can take that. So this is a multiple element contract, and there are 2 distinct parts. One is an access agreement, which will be ratably recognized over 3 years. And the other is where we're helping AFRL build a network node, which will be very important for this entire industry going forward. And that is milestone-based. We will come back with projections for how this is recognized next year on the Q4 call.
Okay, that's helpful. And maybe a follow-on question on this topic here. If I caught it correctly, I think another quantum company also announced a contract with the Air Force Research Labs, I think a few weeks after yours. Can you differentiate what you're doing with them versus what the other company is, how that interoperates or is distinct from what they're doing, please?
So these are very separate agreements, and we have not been involved with this other company and their agreement.
Okay. That is helpful. I did want to follow up on a previous question on the picks here, kind of twofold. My first one on my own here is what kind of a pick is this? Is it a silicon photonics pick, or can you describe it in any more detail? And then in response to the last question, you said it's something down the road here. Can you give us a sense of where that intersection point within your roadmap that will be required?
Yes, this is Jung-san Kim. The answer, yes, this pick will be based on, in general, scope of silicon photonics technology. And I think at this point, we are not in a position to guide exactly when this will be intersecting with our future products.
Okay, that's fair enough. My last question, I'll jump on a line since we both have both Jung-Sing and Chris. I'll ask just kind of the progress over the year that you've been public here in terms of qubit error gates using your trapped ion technology here. I think one of your thesis founding the company here in the public markets is error rates are better. Maybe if you can help kind of quote and summarize the research that you've seen over the last year and where error rates play out versus other technologies and even other companies' versions of their technologies, ion trap and otherwise, that'd be great. That's all for me. Thanks.
Maybe I'll start real quick. Chris Monroe here. Again, we know with the ion trap technology that there is a type of error we expect at some level, and we're not at that level yet. So what that means is all of our errors are not intrinsic to the quantum technology, the qubit itself. They are dominated by the controllers, and for us that means optics. It means electronics and so forth. And this is all the time why we've had such confidence in our ability to execute on the roadmap. So over the last year, we've certainly learned that we can exploit the types of errors that we know are there that are dictated by control errors. They're not inherent errors. They're not so-called decoherence. And that means that we can expand the scope of error correction, and there's many different types of ways to mitigate that kind of error. And I would, Jungsang, why don't you step in if you want to add to that?
Sure. So in the research arena, I think we, including my research group at Duke University and my colleagues, have really kind of gained a much deeper understanding of what the dominant control error sources are. And we've also been inventing kind of control techniques to actually overcome those in many different.
I think we lost our speaker.
I think so
Yeah,
too.
I think maybe. Yeah, I think Jungsang stepped off, but I'm well aware of Jungsang's research in this area, and they've been able to isolate errors to such an extent that we know how to, in a sense, by algorithmic design, make the errors cancel themselves out. And that's one method of what we call error mitigation. And we know error correction is something that we will be deploying as we scale our AQ numbers up. But error mitigation I think it's just another card we can play in taking care of those errors. And to get to your fundamental question, never did we talk about the fundamental errors of our qubits. and because they're atoms, because they're atomic clocks, we're not yet at the level where we're limited by those. So again, we're forging forward, and we expect the next few years to sort of continue along that vein.
All right. Great. Thanks, guys.
Our next question is from Kevin Garrigan with Westpark Capital. Please proceed with your question.
Yeah, hey guys. Let me echo my congrats on the progress, and thanks for taking my question. I apologize for any background noise. I'm in the airport right now. So just one quick question for me. Regarding your partnership with Dell, can you give us a sense of, how the conversations with Dell went and how you were able to capture that partnership? I mean, do they kind of believe ion trap is the future for quantum computing architecture, or is, your ARIA system performance what they were looking for? Any color there would be great. Thank you.
Yep, I can help with that. I think that the Dell HPC group in particular, who we've been working with, has seen a lot of interest in quantum from people who own HPC systems. This is, what is typically called hybrid quantum, supercomputing, and obviously Dell is a leading player in that marketplace. So they're seeing kind of customer demand, and they reached out to us to inquire if we would be interested in working with them to work on a solution. So for the last roughly year or so, we've been working on the software back and forth between the two of us to get the software ready to go so that the hardware would be working together. And at Supercompute 22 is kind of the culmination of that, which is going this week. And you'll see us in the Dell booth, talking about hybrid compute. Also, hybrid compute, this marriage between supercomputers and quantum computers is a large focus of the DOE in terms of what to do next after the exascale project. So it's also an important area for government and obviously for industry going forward.
Our next question is from Trevor Jansky with Needham. Please proceed with your question.
Yeah, hey guys, this is Trevor on for Quinn Bolton. He had to jump. But real quick, on the second ARIA system, can you give us a timeline on when that is going to be finished? And will this likely be the last ARIA system being built?
Yeah, I can take that. The next ARIA system will be ready, roughly towards the end of the year, first quarter, is when it'll start to come online. And then this will probably be the last ARIA system that we build. After this, it will be Forte and other, technologies. We built the second one for both redundancy and also be able to hit kind of customer demand.
Okay. And do you expect the glass trap to help fidelities at all, or is that more for just the scaling?
Chris or Jungsang, would you like to take that?
Yeah, I can take that. Chris here. No, we don't. In fact, the trap itself, that is the electrodes that confine the atoms, they have almost no impact on the performance of the quantum system. And again, this harks back to the advantage of having suspended individual atoms. The electrodes are miles away, atomically speaking. They're almost a fraction of a millimeter away, and atoms are very small things. So having different electrode structures really don't affect the qubit directly. It's all about ease of control, being able to, I think of it like a magnetically levitated train. The train tracks are, not directly influencing the performance of the train, and that's really what we have here.
Awesome. And then just one quick one. Did Harmony's AQ increase as well, like it did last quarter?
We brought it up to an AQ of 6, but that's where it stays today.
Okay.
It would probably need hardware modifications to get better.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
We've reached the end of the question and answer session. I'd now like to turn the call over to Peter Chapman for closing remarks.
Well, just thanks everyone for your time today. It's obviously been a fantastic quarter. We'll look to close out the year. We believe obviously that both on our projections for recognized revenue and bookings will be successful. And we look forward to talking with you, for the Q4 call in the spring. Thanks everyone. Appreciate the time.